Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast, the space for entrepreneurs on a quest for unwavering certainty and purpose. I'm your host, Lauren, and each episode is a compass guiding you through authentic conversations, unraveling the mysteries of your human design chart, and offering tools from the remarkable guest. Join me as we embark on a journey to manifest greatness and create a life aligned with our deepest purpose. This is the space where misfits find their enlightenment. Welcome to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have Deanna. She is a soul coach. I'm so happy to have you here. And I know before we started recording, we were chatting, and I just love it because it just flows and it's just amazing.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm super excited. I always enjoy talking to you.
I know we could talk for hours.
We can talk forever. I feel like definitely you're my soul sister.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Okay, so kind of share with the listeners about your story, kind of like when, like a little bit, I guess, just behind the scenes of Deanna and maybe your Zen Den, and kind of like what inspired you to start your healing space. And if anybody's in Chestertown, Maryland, make sure you go see her.
Perfect. So I initially was in an abusive relationship and married and got divorced years ago. And I thought, how did I get in this situation? And I wanted to do some inner work. So I took Reiki and took all the levels and became Reiki master. And I really enjoyed it. I started to do some inner work on myself and realized that it wasn't the world outside of me that had something against me. It was my own energy. So now I speak very fluently in energy. It's definitely what I understand. And I used to have a wellness center in Kent Island, and I had that for quite a few years. And then when COVID hit, I started to have my clients in my house. And then one day, one of my clients, she was doing my dishes. And I thought, well, I prefer if you vacuum. And then I said, I think I should invest in getting a building next to my house so that it's dedicated to what I do. And so I had a hot rod. It was a 56 custom line, pink and white. So, that I'm very dedicated to this healing work. And I bought the building. So, and then my mom helped me decorate it. And she's got a really good eye. And I started to have people in here. And then, the one thing about COVID was there were times when you couldn't have people into the Zen Den, is what I called it. And it's basically like a garage that's been morphed into a healing center. And so I started to do more over the phone. People would contact me, and I have been a life coach since 2014, Reiki master and teacher since 2009. So I've been doing this for a while, and it started to really broaden the people in my life. And so, doing things over the phone has been such a pleasure. You're definitely welcome to come here to Chestertown, Maryland, but also I wouldn't have met some of the most amazing people that I've met if I didn't open this up and, do phone sessions. And I call it soul coaching. It's life coaching, but it's for your soul. I'm very much driven by my soul. I live from my soul. I listen to my soul. And therefore, those people that are my clients, I feel like a lot of times I call them my soul family, because as soon as we start to chat, it's like talking to an old friend, and it's like, hey, how can I assist you? So it's not that I'm the one healing them. I'm creating the space for them to heal or to have an epiphany, or we talked about this earlier, tower moments. I love tower moments. There's so many times where I also read cards, and people will say, "No, not the tower card." And I'm like, "Yes, the tower card," because that means there's going to be a big shift, a big change in your life, and I am the agent of change. I love change. Uh it means you're evolving. It means you're growing. It means there's something new. A long time ago, I drove across country. I used to live in Las Vegas, and I stopped at each state, and I would go in, and I would get a little shot glass, and it was just something that I wanted to have a little memento. And I would say, "Wow, you're the first person I met from Indiana. You're the first person I met from Kansas." And when I got to Kansas, I remember that the guy told me, I said, "What's it like living in Kansas?" And he said to me, "Well, this is where I work. My house is behind this building, and my school's across the street, and this is all I know."
Wow.
Mind blown. And I thought it was so, I just memorable, that I thought I never want to live that life where this is all I know. I'm in my bubble, and it's very safe, and it's what I know. So for me, expanding my energy is just natural to me, to touch those souls that would benefit.
Right.
Yeah, so thank you. Shout out to the guy in Kansas.
That's actually, I was gonna say, speaking about that, I feel like that can kind of help us like talk about what I want. That's literally what I wanted to ask next. So when you speak about expanding your energy, or like, soul coaching, because I feel like if you called yourself a life coach, I probably not on recording, I probably would be like, well, why don't you do like soul coaching or whatever? Because I feel like the people that are life coaches or call themselves life coaches, um how do I say this without triggering people, because I feel like this is going to trigger people. Uh they feel like that's the life coach is just like the end all be all, like, you're a life coach, I have to get certified in life coaching. And it's just like, no, like, obviously you are the coach, or even the word coach, I don't even call myself a coach, because it's just like, I'm a guide, I'm here to help you, I'm here to share with what I did for, like you.
Yes.
But I feel like the society has this life coach, all these toxic life coaches that play on people's mother wounds or father wounds.
Yes.
I feel like has made it such a toxic environment. So I feel like for you, that's not what I'm saying for you, but I feel like for you to say that, I feel like somebody obviously that's listening to this is either has gone through that whole playing on, it's like the narcissism side of coaching. Like, they do it for
Yes.
their own gain. Like, I still see, even I went through it. I literally just went through it a couple years ago. I looked at her as like, a friend, not just my coach or my mentor or whatever. But then, once I stopped paying her, the shift has changed. Like, people still like to stay in my energy, or they don't have to pay me, to stay in my world. And I just feel like
Right.
it's actually normal. Like, of course, yes, to do one-on-one coaching, yes, you have to pay me. But, to stay in my world or be in my programs, or if it's a membership, you get lifetime access to everything. So
Right. I think that's great.
her, it was different. Like, I had to keep paying you, or she was the one that actually started the podcast with me. The idea was, do the podcast with me because I didn't have enough confidence to do it myself. And Spirit was like, no, this is not for her. This is for you. And then I started to realize that guests were not showing up. I was literally, Catherine, shout out to Catherine, she'll be listening to this. She said to me, why are you doing that podcast with her? You literally, it's like you don't even get to talk. And people show up because of me. They want to listen to what I have to say and the guests have to say. They don't want to listen to whatever. So, like, fast forward to
Right.
now, it went from like 10 subscribers to, I think it's up to 5,000 now or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like shifting that energy, or opening. And the only reason why I'm saying this is like
Yes.
energy up is important. So for what, I don't know why I went on that rampage, but, or that drop, but that rampage.
You're very passionate about that.
Yeah. So my question is, so when you're blending intuitive like coaching, because that's what it is pretty much, with Reiki and your sessions, like how are you using these like modalities to complement each other?
I love that question. So I recently read where find one thing that you're really good at and call that your job. It's something that you love. So I feel like something that has always been that people do feel comfortable enough. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I love myself. I embody unconditional love for myself. I'm a very joyful person. I'm a happy person. And people do, they feel that and they share with me. I mean, I was at Kohl's and I was in the next dressing room. The lady did not see me. She just felt my energy and said, "Excuse me, I can't get this dress off of me. Could you please help?" And I thought, well, absolutely. But, if it was somebody else next to her, she might not have asked. She might have struggled with that for a really long time. So I went in there, we're laughing. The dress is stuck on her hair. Next, next, she's telling me her whole life story and the
Yeah.
things that are going on. And it's some of the things that were frustrating her, which, besides the dress being stuck in her hair, I just had a positive spin on it. I'm a very positive person. It doesn't mean that I don't have my days, but I choose to be. It's a choice. So when I wake up, I think, what could I be grateful for? And I really do. I really do spin things for good because I do believe that the universe is working for us. And so when I'm on the phone with someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm having a tower moment," or "I just broke up with somebody," or "I hate my job," I'm like, "Great, you need to know what you don't like so that you can embody what you do." That's how we learn here. That's how we learn here. Earth school of hard knocks. Doesn't
Right.
mean it's going to be easy. And so sometimes, like, let's say they're talking to me and I feel for a second there's a sword in their back, and I initially see the word betrayal. So I'm be mindful of that, and I say, "Is there somebody recently that has betrayed you? Are you feeling that?" And then I go, "Yes, my best friend just ran off with my man," or something like that. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? She did you a favor because clearly that's not a healthy relationship. So I would say, is that okay if we just remove that sword that you're carrying? Let's lighten your load. Oh, please, thank you. So in removing that, and so that's the Reiki, the part of it, if it's needed. And then the coaching, it was interesting you said about guide. I believe that too, that I'm a guide. But I
Mhm.
also believe in being a coach. My grandfather was a coach for football, and I think the why I do like that term in a way is because I feel like I want you to win and I'm your cheerleader. So when you're feeling some kind of way and you're shifting, and sometimes it's just really hard, like when you've gone through a divorce. So it's hard when you feel rejected, when you're applying for jobs, even though you hate them and that's not really what you want to do. That I'm like, okay, I'm here for you. We are going to figure this out because everything is figure outable,
Right.
right? Everything's figure outable. So we're going to figure this out together. And so that's how I feel like I kind of marry the two. And then I do add the card reading. I feel like I could do readings without it, but it's fun. I feel like there's some kind of sense of wow when somebody's saying, "Oh, I don't know what's going on in my life," and you pull that tower card and they're like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I just knew it." So I think it's a visual representation of what they're going through to give them validation. There are times I don't use them, there are times I do. So I'm very intuitively guided on what to use with each soul because, you know, everybody's different. It's like I've been a massage therapist as well for 17 years. And no, I don't give the massage the same to everybody.
Right.
Everybody's different. Yeah, everybody's different. So whoever's in front of me, I just tune in to their soul, my soul to their soul, their higher self to mine. And I'm like, hey, what are we doing here together? What do we want to accomplish?
Right.
And my goal is for myself is that every time I have a phone session with somebody that they leave, well, bless you, a little bit, feeling a little bit better than they did. It doesn't mean okay, you get off the phone with me and your whole life is completely changed and every that would be great if that happened. And I'm all for it if it does.
Right.
But it does feel like okay, if you just feel a little bit better and you have that spark of hope or knowing that there's somebody in your corner that believes in you and 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 your dream or just is there for you during even a dark period, I think that then it just makes me feel like I did my job here. And I forget what the word is, but there is I heard it where there's a place where people live and they live to be 100 and there's and they I mean can't think of the exact place. I'll think of it later. But they did they're like, why is this area where they live to be remember
Oh,
that? Yeah.
yeah.
And it was because they had a purpose.
Yes.
So even they did have the concept of, okay, I can't wait till I get to be 65, retire from this job that I absolutely hate, and then I'm going to live my best life. Um, Fingers crossed. So it's like helping. I feel like helping and assisting people to go, what is there a deeper meaning or purpose to your life? What is it that we could bring in? And the beauty, I'm very passionate about this um of coaching women is like you're the one person as a coach that sees or is helping to grow this new version of them. So there are people in their life that and they mean well, their family, their friends are like, what are you doing? The first thing about business. And maybe not, but if this is something that it's for you to do, and I'm here like, whoa, let's look at this. So being accountable, you're going to get some homework. And in order to make your dreams a reality, there are some practical aspects to it that we need to address. But so I'm here to go, hey, here's the doorway. Here's this beautiful doorway in front of you. And let's walk through it together and let's get to know this new version of you. So nobody else knows it yet. Nobody else knows it except for us. So it's a nice container for growth. Yeah, so I feel like I use all the different I have a spiritual toolbox. It's invisible over here and I just pull out what's needed.
Yeah, I thank you for that explanation because I feel like people that are listening, a lot of people that are probably listening know what Reiki is, but I feel like when I talk about shamanic healing or witchcraft or whatever, aliens or, whatever people, not that aliens like to be called aliens, but, all that stuff, spiritual stuff, I feel like people kind of tune out because they're like, I don't know what that is. I don't know, what all that means but when it comes to like Reiki, I feel like Reiki is the universal, like the highest, energy, light, healing of the universe. So it's like they know what that is. And I feel like it's very common. Like, you don't hear
Yeah.
people talking about shamanic practices. It's pretty much all the same thing. It's quantum healing, but when I
Yes.
say it's quantum healing, we're going to be in different, dimensions. People are like, what are you talking about? We're going to clear out karmic stuff. We're going to do all this stuff. I feel like people didn't realize, like, didn't really know, because and the reason why I'm saying this is because when I've actually been interviewed lately, even people that have been doing this for years are like, how do you do human design, shamanic practices, and Reiki? Because I do more theta Reiki. So mine is all more in like the theta state. So, I mean, yeah, sure, I'm still a Reiki master though, but I'm a theta Reiki master because I do it in a way that I'm doing it in the quantum level. So I
Yeah.
personally feel like that's pretty much what you're doing too, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm a Usui Reiki master and quantum Reiki master. So yes, you're tapped into the quantum field, and it's what's needed at the time. Yeah, 100%. But it's funny you said that. I did want to share that. I remember one time I used to volunteer at the wellness house for cancer patients years ago, and at the time I thought, well, I'm going here to help people, and no, they helped me. I was humbled, some of the strongest souls, and what they were going and what they showed me about myself. But yeah, there was a lady who says, Reiki, you are not touching me with Reiki. You're not doing any kind of that. And I remember thinking what you were talking about. And Reiki is a word, but it's energy, right? So in tapping into the quantum field and using your gifts, and I said, well, how about we call it divine love? And she says, I'll take some divine love, but don't give me that Reiki. So, I don't really get too caught up
Literally,
yeah, in the words of it. But I love that what you were talking about
yeah,
the
because when
quantum
you say
field.
quantum healing, people don't even know dimensions. They don't know the beta, theta, whatever. They don't know any of that stuff. Hopefully they know what beta is, but so
Yeah.
but it's like all that stuff. Now I'm not saying that I'm an expert in quantum, but I feel like when I heal, like when I healed myself, or when I do heal myself, because I'm none of us are healed, but we're healing.
Healing.
I feel like,
Yes.
yeah, that I've always like healed from the quantum. It's the only thing, but I do have to realize I'm Pisces moon and rising, so I'm always in imaginary land. You're like, how can I get to this dimension? That type of stuff. But I feel like staying in the 3D is not going to heal you. It's not going to ever, it's something that you just have to be in. But we all have to be in the 3D, but you can't heal per se in the 3D because all of your shit physically is happening in the 3D, right? So I feel
Yeah.
the way that
I
you
like
kind of
that.
explained it with how it benefits you to have this and that. It's kind of like if you have cancer, yes, you do have to have Western medicine, but you also have to have the mind, body, spirit side. Body would be, like, so you have to have both in order for it to,
Yes.
like, people think, oh, I've healed my cancer. It's actually true. Like, it actually can be done. But you also, if you have cancer and it's taking over your body, maybe you do need chemo. But you also need to heal your spirit with it too. It like goes hand in hand. You can't just have one without the other. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
love.
that's why I love that, because that's why I feel like I'm a fan of soul coaching, because it's like, if you go and get all the Western medicine, but you're going every day to a place that you absolutely hate where you work,
Yeah,
we
it's like
might want to take a look at that. Or if you're in a relationship that you have tons of resentments, and every day you look at them and you're like, oh, I just can't stand you, but I'm just going to put up with this. So that's something to really, it needs to be brought to light. So we'll shine light on that.
right, right.
Yeah.
So, as a Reiki master and teacher, how do you see the energy healing evolving or gaining acceptance in today's world?
Oh, I mean, I remember working in Annapolis, and at the time I would say, could we put, because I had a few clients that would come in for Reiki, and I said, could we put that on the menu? And they were like, no. And then I feel like they did towards the end, and I think they spelled it Rayke. It wasn't even like, in other words, it was like Reiki.
What?
And I was like, oh my gosh. So just remembering that, and the impact that it had on people and myself, because you're really, you're like, okay, I'm in this safe space. And because sometimes, people have a lot of kids and dogs, and they're running around, they're doing all this stuff at home, and then if they're in a space, you're creating that space where it's healing, it's calm, calling in the angels and their guides, and we're like, hey, let's take a look at what needs to be looked at. That's a space for them to they could heal. It's a beautiful space. So creating a space is really important. But I feel like then on the shore where I felt like there was more of a buzz around it, would do chakra balancing and Reiki. And I remember there being a line of people, they were like really excited about, I don't know what this is, but it sounds cool. And then people, yeah, I mean, there would be a waiting list because it obviously had a positive effect on them. And then I've taught, uh I would say about 300 people, might be more. So, and initially, when I made the Reiki packets, I really didn't think that I was going to teach. I took it for myself. I took it for myself. I was really like, what is up with me? Why would I pick a relationship that's so toxic? And so, in looking at, wow, I had some toxic stuff going on. I had some resentments. I had some work to
Yeah.
do. I did. Yeah, I had a lot of work to do there. So, in looking at some of the limiting beliefs I had, or some of the imprints that I was carrying, it was work. It's continued work, like you
Mhm.
said. And yeah, so I've taught hundreds of people from New York to California to Missouri, Florida, all around. And it's really fun because you can just do that over the phone and get certified. And the beauty of it, I notice, is that I feel like after Reiki 1, there's usually a tower moment. And and then Reiki 2, it's like, I don't know, I hear like, every woman. It's like all of a sudden you
Yeah.
get your power back because you realize where you gave it away. And then in Reiki 3, it doesn't mean you're perfect. It just means that you have committed to be the master of your own emotions, your destiny, that you're taking responsibility.
Right.
Yeah. And so I've seen people's lives change with it. And it just, to me, it's just amazing. I mean, I had somebody that had testicular cancer,
Hmm.
and he was physically in front of me, so he came here. I mean, we could do a distance, but he came for, I want to say it was 3 weeks, and every 3 days. And he said to me, I can't feel my legs. He had neuropathy from the cancer treatment, from the chemo. And I said, well, do you want to feel your legs? And he said, absolutely. So we worked on some grounding techniques and him bringing his energy fully back into his feet. And because he had pulled his energy up because it was painful in that area, and what he went through and the trauma. And now, true story, he skydives.
Oh, wow.
And he now goes around and helps people. Like, he goes to kids that have cancer and he gives motivational speeches to them. And he brings a picture of him skydiving.
Yeah, because
So
it gives
I feel
them
like,
hope. I feel like
yeah, this,
hope is really hard to come by, especially when I feel like that's like sometimes all that, sometimes when it's like what keeps you alive, it's like that hope of I can change this kind of thing.
yes, I feel like usually the question I have is, well, do you want to feel your legs? Do you
Right.
want to still be here?
Yeah.
And that's really a deep question, because it I feel like the people look at me and like, well, of course I want to be here.
Hey.
But I've noticed they'll come back the next time and say, man, that question really got me thinking.
Yeah.
Really, it kind of put me into some deep thought. And I'm like, and they're like, sometimes I have been thinking it's just really difficult here in this world, in this planet. And I'm like, it is. This is not for the weak, this is for the strongest of souls to come here and and to do all these lessons and to get them.
Yes.
And so and they're like, yeah, I think I've maybe there was part of me that wanted to check out, or there's been somebody that I'm like, um, they keep having back pain, and I'm like, why are you pushing everybody behind you? And they're like, well, they're getting on my nerves. And I'm like, well, okay, but the back pain, you're pushing them back there, and they're all back there going, we're all back here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, and it was like this
We're
cool,
all here.
yeah, it was a neat epiphany where they go, you mean I don't have to keep, no, how about we put them in front of you? And that way you're managing the people around you, like, okay, they're when their energy can come in or not, as opposed to pushing them behind you and all it's doing is you're resisting and giving you pain. And they're like, oh, mind blown. So I love
Yeah.
those. I live for those moments. Yeah.
Hey there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to share with all of you spiritual rebels and fempreneurs. If you've been craving a space where you can build wealth, heal trauma, and rise alongside like-minded women, I got something for you to hear about. I'm excited to invite you into the Enlightened Misfits Sisterhood. This is a low-cost, high-impact group membership designed exclusively for spiritual fempreneurs who know they need accountability and support to create sustainable wealth, but aren't ready to dive into a one-on-one mentorship. In this membership, you'll get monthly calls, rituals, healing sessions, and workshops to break through your self-doubt and build confidence so that you can consistently sell your offers and make money. This is also a collaborative private Facebook community where you make lifelong connections with other women who are just as serious as hitting their goals. And my personal guidance as your intuitive human design business guide and trauma healer, ensuring you stay aligned and on track with your business goals. Plus, you'll get free access to all my paid workshops and masterclasses, along with exclusive VIP pricing for my one-on-one Voxer membership. This membership is all about helping you heal the sabotaging behaviors blocking your abundance and using your human design to create a business that feels amazing to run. Imagine waking up excited to serve your clients and knowing that you have the exact support you need to hit every single one of your business goals every single month. So if you're ready to rise and build wealth with a sisterhood of spiritual misfits, make sure you click the registration link in the description box. Right now, the investment is just $88 a month, but the price will increase to $197 a month. Join today to unlock exclusive rates and get access to next month's kickoff call. Let's get back to today's episode, but remember, your next level is just one decision away. Join the sisterhood and let's rise together. Yeah, I feel like all of us, or probably everybody listening, probably had the same experience and not realizing, like, if you have back pain, there's physically on your body, there's a reason. It doesn't just happen because it happens. I mean, sure, maybe if you don't believe in any of that, but it's just energy. Like, it can't be created or destroyed. You have to evolve it, change it, switch it, learn to work with it, whatever, manipulate it. Like, we're all manipulating the energy, right? So
Right. I feel like, well, that is the way, the beauty of pain, it's telling you where to take notice.
right, it's actually helping you. Like, the pain
Yes.
is actually the answer of where you need help.
Right.
You have to guess, right?
Usually I feel like what I do is my own process is when there's full moon, I go out and I charge myself in the moon, unless it's an eclipse, I don't. But I'll charge myself in the full moon, and then I usually, my question will be, where am I feeling any kind of when you get that so I'll do a body scan and I go down my body, and if I feel like a little then I go, okay, what is this about? So because sometimes we just we live in a busy world, we have a lot to do, and so it's just a nice reminder of, like, when the full moon release comes, not only just mentally going, okay, I want to release ordering an extra slice of pizza, but it would be nice to go, what is the deeper thing that I need to look at and release? So that's helped me.
Yeah, I love that.
Because otherwise I used to, before I did that, I would kind of go, I'll deal with that later. And then the later would come and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, now my right shoulder hurts or something.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's like now I have to pay attention because it's manifested in the body.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important to regularly get energy work to clear yourself. And yes, you can do it alone, and there are times that I do self Reiki, but it's nice because when you are in a place of being nurtured, when it feels like a nurturing environment, and like I see you and you see me. So sometimes we might miss something because it's like, okay, now I'm going to look at myself. And I'm like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Yeah. So I think that's why when you do find someone that you trust or you vibe with, it's great. They can call you out and go, hey, did you notice this? And you might go, oh yeah, I do
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with me, I was going to say, just me personally with human design and knowing my incarnation cross and just like knowing what I know is I am right angle cross of masks. So it's like I have to wear different masks, around
Oh,
people. But I also, my whole life had to be that, I have to be like, just like a player in whatever, like, if it's just, when I used to work, like I would be just an employee. But then another part of my life, I was like a mom. And then I would be like somebody's, coach or mentor or whatever. So it's like I was constantly having to shift my energy into all these different spots. Like I wasn't just that one person through all the things. So it's sometimes hard. Then you have the ability, like I could hide or act like, oh, I don't want to be seen, that type of thing, because like I don't want to, all that. So I feel like you explaining all that can really help somebody that feels like they don't are not seen, or they want to be heard, or they want to gain acceptance. Like it all starts with yourself. Like you have to do it within yourself first. I mean,
yes.
obviously,
I mean,
it's human design. He read my chart. He's like, "Oh, you're really good at hiding." And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, I feel like it was one of my superpowers. But at the same time, I'm good at hiding or like covering up what I'm going through or trying to like just kind of mask things. I also can see that in somebody else. So that's why I feel like I'm really good at seeing people's shadows. Or if somebody's saying, like you said, tarot cards. I love reading tarot cards. I feel like it's always nice to physically see a card when you're saying something, but I
right.
also don't need the cards because I can see it, like visualize it. There's a picture, there's sound, there's
So,
actual messages, that come through that I'll say, like, for instance, fast forward last weekend, like I was telling you, I went to a tarot card event and somebody tried to challenge me towards the end of the event. And to me, my ego was like, is this right? Like, is this true? Like, I'm trying to prove to myself that I know what I'm talking about. But it was more of like what I was mirroring was the doubt coming from somebody, and I seen the card,
right.
like it was a lot of sword energy. I mean, they're all lawyers, So it was like that doubt card or tarot or the strength in reverse, confusion, all like, 10 of swords energy. So it's like I knew that was her trying to confuse me to see if I really knew what I was talking about, that kind of thing. So it's like it's like, these people like because I know that I used to hide or like to put up a mask or like that's not really what's happening. I'm just reading the energy. It's funny, literally every reading I
Right.
do, they're like, how do you know my whole life? And I'm like, I don't. I'm literally reading energy that is sitting right in front of me. You are a
Right.
person, but I'm reading it. So I'm reading the energy that you embody, and that's obviously makes up who you are, characteristics of who you are, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
Years ago, when I took a card reading class, and then it was where you could um, certify others, and it was a big, about 200 people, and we had to go around, and we didn't know each other, and just start reading for strangers. And I remember at the time sweating and having a little bit of anxiety because I was like, I don't know them. I hope I do, this is good. And because it was just something new. I mean, yes, I've always been good at reading people or sensing or feeling energy. But
Mhm.
that was really interesting for me, going around and the aha moments where people are like, "How in the world did you get that?" Or for me, where I'm like, "How did you get that?" And and it just solidified energy and how we're reading energy. And like I said, our energy is really what's picking those cards, right?
Yeah,
When it's like,
yeah,
okay, so I'm
yeah.
in this
It's not me.
vibration and
I'm
I
not
get
picking it.
this
I'm not.
card and it's like, wow, it's like such cool validation, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's not me. I'm not picking your cards. I don't know what's in the cards for you. Like, I'm just reading. That's why it's so, when people are like, oh, I can read your future. I can tell you. I don't, it's like, that's the scammy part of,
Yeah.
because I'm not reading no future. I'm reading your next steps on what's getting ready to come in, and which is why. And I'm not saying that when people do monthly readings and all this stuff, obviously that has to do with the astrology. The energy
Mhm.
of astrology is not going to change. You have to change that. So I always like feel like I tell people this all the time. Just because the ending of your outcome of your month, or and even that too, like somebody can do a month reading or a year reading for you, but that doesn't mean that you can alter timelines, you can shift that.
Yes.
So that 2 days from now, that can change and you can be on a completely different path. If you make the decision to do this or that, and I kept telling, literally, I feel like I kept repeating that. I'm like, I'm not reading, I don't have a crystal ball. That's not even a thing. I can't,
Right.
I can see what your life will be like if you make this decision, but if you don't deal with this and switch this or change this, what I'm telling you, in like the near future is not happening. So your life is going to say the exact same thing. Like it's going to say the same. So like I feel like people don't really understand that, especially when they're listening to tarot card readings and they feel like, oh, this resonates, but they don't do anything. So then it's still going to resonate next month. It's still going to resonate the month after. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're not doing anything. I feel like that piece people
Yeah.
don't understand, because like you have to take action, because physically your life isn't going to change, right? If you
Yeah.
So I feel like that whole like I used to listen to tarot card readings all the time. That's why I self-taught myself, when I was younger, because it's like I want to know how to do this. I want to self-teach myself this, which is why I don't need cards, because I can just intuitively know when I'm reading the energy. I feel like when you get too much in your head about it, your ego takes
Right.
over and you second guess yourself. But I also don't do readings on myself. I sometimes do. Like if I need clarity on something, I will. But I don't normally read for myself, just because
Me either.
filtering it through my own ego. My own ego has its own agenda. So
Oh yeah,
I like
100%.
doing it so much better, or getting readings or something, because I feel like I already know what they're going to say. I just need to hear it from somebody else's mouth besides my own head.
Yeah, sometimes we do. We need validation. Like I said, it comes
Yeah.
back to it's hard for me to see my own stuff. And usually, what I say to people when, let's say they want a card reading, I'll say we're reading the energy for today.
Right.
So, yeah, in other words,
Or
this is where
tomorrow
you're
or
at.
in a week. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're continuing with it, because they could let go of a limiting belief from that reading to the next. So
Right.
that changes their vibration
Right. So it's going to
and
change
it
your
could
next.
change the outcome.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's why I don't like it when people listen to, I mean, these tarot card readers, especially ones on YouTube that I trust or whatever, I'm telling you, they're giving readings every single day. And it's because some people don't believe this, but it's because the energy changes every day. Because if you listen to their advice from yesterday and you change something, your day, the next day is going to change,
Right.
or whatever is happening for you. So, some people are like, I don't like doing readings every day, or myself, or listening to readings every day. Well, if you need that much guidance, maybe that's what you do need. Maybe
Oh yeah.
you need to hear from somebody else, or, from another person, that this is going to change. Or maybe you just need clarification on hearing it from somebody else's mouth that they're going through the same thing. And maybe that will get your, get you to change, kind of
I
thing.
love that because sometimes when we get stuck in our head over there's a decision to make and we're kind of going or mulling over two different or ruminating and it's like, should I do this or that? And a lot of times there'll be a like an F yeah or a no way. But then it's like that middle ground where you're like, I mean, this is gonna kill me if I go to this party. I'm not really feeling it. Should I? Shouldn't I? And it's kind of nice to go like when the card it's like says no, and then you find out later that because I remember there was this retreat and I got invited to, and it sounded so cool and so fun, and I was like, but also had a lot going on, and I pulled over, and it was like no, and they all got sick. Some kind, I don't know, whatever they ate or something got sick, and I was like, I'm so glad I because my soul was like, this is fun, but I had a hesitation. I think they're great when you have a hesitation. And a lot of times that little hesitation is usually a no, but it's when you get that validation, you're like, okay, it's definite. It just moved up in rank to a definite no. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
like
I
that's
love that.
usually when I ask, but sometimes it's like I'm just or I ask like I do pendulum work a lot too because that energy is not going to change. Like
Right.
sometimes depending on what the situation is, you have to be very clear. And I literally had just told my client this a couple days ago. I'm like, you have to be very because she does pendulum work, like she's been doing pendulum work, and I'm like, here's the thing. If you ask your pendulum a yes or no question, that's not the right thing. You have to be very specific about what you're asking. Like, so if you're asking for money, I tell this to like my coaching clients all the time. If you want money and you're saying, I want more money, I want more clients, whatever, you're manifesting a lot of work for yourself because you have to make that, into, actual tangible clients, but it could come through maybe a credit card or like a loan, or maybe you'll get approved for a loan. Instead of, I always
Right.
tell people, if you want money, ask for USD dollars, meaning like dollars, meaning like don't just ask for money because maybe you'll get a credit card approved for a credit card or a loan. Like now you're going to have to pay that back. That's debt. You don't want asking for money and then have debt. You know what I mean? I started,
Yes.
I don't know where, I don't know what maybe it was a video or maybe somebody told me this. I don't know what it happened. I switched, like when I was manifesting wealth, I just manifest it through wealth versus it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could
Right.
just be through an abundance of coaching clients or opportunities that I get paid for, or live events that I just did or something like that. So I always tell people when you're manifesting money, it doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be wealth because that comes from a place of not scarcity
I
versus
love that because a lot of people have some limiting beliefs when it comes to money, and it could be an imprint from their family or something
yeah.
like that. And so for me, I usually say more energy. I mean, as a generator, I have a lot of energy,
Right.
but so I would say that I just say, bring me more energy because when I notice that as well when I say or bring me money, I don't know why it kind of feels almost like as if you're saying you don't have enough and that there isn't enough.
Right, like it comes like more scarcity, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's different. Yeah, that's why I actually recording this podcast. I feel like hopefully I have this out, but I am going to do either a video or some type of free offer for people to actually be able to pull their human design chart and look at where their wealth creation comes from. And I feel like that in itself, when people want to know more about their wealth or like how to make more money, and this could be just simply being in a 9 to 5 job. If
Oh yeah.
you're not an entrepreneur and doing it that way, I feel like you still need to know where you're going to tap into your wealth, or you're constantly going to be chasing it. So like
Right.
that doesn't work. Constantly chasing things doesn't work either. You know what I mean? So I feel like, but when you hear the word wealth, I feel like it feels different to your body than money, because
Yes, or
money is going to
abundance.
trigger a lot of
Yeah,
people.
100%. I agree. I agree with that when it comes to money.
Yeah.
Or when people are saying I need more money, I just immediately screams that you don't have it and you might never. Yeah, I definitely see that
Yeah.
as a red
Yeah.
flag.
Yeah. And we all have money wounds. I feel like you
Oh
can
yeah.
layer of money, like your wound around money, but it's like there's another thing. It's another thing. It's another thing. It's usually, a wounded feminine energy, and that's okay. Like, or it's just a generational thing that
Generational.
you need to heal. Like, because if you
Yes.
don't heal it, you're just going to place it on to the next generation until somebody wants to feel it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yes.
you gotta feel. I always say that. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm ready to feel it.
Oh, and
So
then
I'm
there's also
feeling
that,
it.
I think the interesting thing is there's that sometimes there could be a fear of success because if you've come from a line of a generation where they really didn't live to their fullest potential and you are starting to make or generate more income and then maybe there's a stalemate, is it because are you afraid of what that looks, you don't have anybody that came before you that says, hey, this is what it feels like and it's amazing, so you're the one creating a new blueprint. And sometimes I've seen it where it's just a hesitation because what does that mean when I level up? So that's something to also look at. And that's been very interesting work as well.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I feel like you're reading my soul blueprint because I actually, it's been probably a couple months now, but I had a fear of success. And when I worked with my mentor about it, she was like, what do you fear? I was like, I fear like I am very successful right now. There is I don't come from an entrepreneurial family. I don't come from a family that has a lot of money. I don't come from a family that even left a 9 to 5 job to do their own business. So I don't have, nobody in my family does that. When I
Right.
did, when I decided to leave my very successful 9 to 5 job, I was making a lot of money and people are like, what are you doing? Like even my mom and my aunt were like, what are you doing? Like you have a degree and, you're a high risk, like OB ultrasound tech. What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I guess the universe is going to show me because I don't know. I'm not going back to my nine. I don't want to work for anybody else anymore. Like I hated at the point that I loved doing this work. So I was going to a job I hated. That's not fair for those patients. And it's not fair for
Right.
me when I wanted to focus on something else, like that was just like, that's what I needed to get through, deal with at the time. And I needed to go a different way. So, and that's what I always tell people. Like, if you can leave a very successful job and not care about the money, which I have a very different relationship with money anyway, but I never really cared about it. Yeah, I needed to pay my bills, but money doesn't make me feel safe or not. Like I could be negative in my bank account and feel the same way. I could have $5 million in my bank account and I feel the same way. I don't really care that much about money per se. Like I don't, sure, it would be
Right.
nice to have it, but I think it's because I felt so miserable with it. And I had the experience of buying whatever I wanted to buy, could do whatever I wanted to do with it. And, to the point that I had a lot of money because I made it for myself. Did I spend it correctly? Probably not. Did I have credit card debt? Yeah, sure. That's what I used to do. I was like, oh, I'll just pay it off whenever, like I'll just use my credit card. And then my friend would be like, well, when are you going to pay? I don't know. I'll pay it off whenever. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's like I was doing whatever, I was just living
Right.
life. And then I realized, oh, I got to be responsible. So that's what I think would trigger me when I would feel like I'm not going to be successful because I had so much responsibility that it's like, am I going to fail? That's the same thing with feel like, fail,
Right.
you're a failure because nobody did it before me. So I don't know how to do this. So that's why it's always good. I always say, well, I'm building a business with the divine, so they know what to do. So
Exactly.
then you better figure it out because I don't know what I'm doing. Like I feel like none of us, and people that act like they do know that what they're doing, they don't. They just act like they do. None of us really know what we're doing. We're just trying stuff. That's what I always tell people. It's the scary people when it's like they know what they're doing. I mean, sure, people do know what they're doing. That's I'm being funny, but we still have to learn. We still have to grow. It's the scariest people are like, I know exactly what to do, and they don't.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
They're just telling,
uh-oh.
well, they're just telling themselves that.
Yeah.
I feel like something else I wanted to touch on is, and we talked a little bit about this before, is the Akashic records. I think I'm definitely a fan of that. I think um it's great sometimes to when you're coaching and if they have not heard of it before to empower them to show them the dimension, like show them that they have access to it. It's their records,
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, lately I've been doing some Akashic Records work, and but I do it not like, oh, you have to come to Deanna to go there, but just for me to go, hey, have you heard of this? Did you know this is a thing? And they're like, no. And then afterwards, they have the understanding and the knowledge so that they can go there themselves. So
Right.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I was gonna say, yeah, I actually like the way that you approach it too, because I feel like these Akashic workers or Akashic record holder, whatever the hell, like
Mhm.
they're not like they're like gatekeepers of it, which is not. I don't
Yeah,
believe
I don't like that.
because nobody are gatekeepers unless you're like a scar or something like that.
Right.
He's like the gatekeeper of the underworld, whatever. But like uh, it doesn't mean that you can't go down there, or you can't
Right.
access that. And so so tell me a little bit about your perspective on it and how you guide people. Because I feel like people that want to access, because I think Joey actually said this to me. He was like, oh, can you access my Akashic records? I'm like, yeah, but why do I need to do it? Why don't you just do it? And he's like, how do I do that? I need somebody to guide me. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, sure, if you want to listen to a guided meditation of somebody walking you through, or you have to have a visualization of it, you have to kind of like visual, like you have to ask, all that stuff, so you have to have an imagination or a visualization of it. But other than that, it's going to be showed, like, what do you need to heal, what door is this, what, like,
Yeah.
what does this look like, what does that look like? You don't, I mean, I guess in a way people feel safer if people actually know what they're doing. But I personally don't feel like you have to go pay somebody thousands of dollars or even hundreds of
No.
dollars to do that. I believe that on anything. Like, just like if you want to do quantum healing or like shamanic healing or human design or whatever, I don't really care who you go to. Just make sure when you're working with them that, I always tell people, ask them for their birth chart so you know if it's comparable. Because if their planets are all in Pluto, you're going to have a lot of like, you guys aren't compatible. You got to be compatible with people that are helping you. Because if not,
Right.
it's just going to be a waste of your money. Like, stop wasting your money and time. I always tell people that. Like, do you want my birth chart? Do you want my human design? You can look at it, see if we're comparable. Because like, maybe we're not. And I don't want to waste your time and I don't want you to waste mine. So,
I'd say that I I set my intention that way. So I'm like, okay, so those souls that I'm here to assist, just bring them to me.
yeah.
Like, it's pretty simple like that. So, and I really have a strong belief in that. So I feel like if there's somebody that somehow they go, hey, could you help so and so? And I don't, I immediately within 8 seconds get my yes or no, and I trust it. So I'm like, this isn't for me to do. I would be doing you a disservice. I think it's somebody else. And then that's going to be a beautiful relationship where they grow. That I'm all for that as well. So yeah, I just feel like I'm aligned, and those that are aligned with me will find me.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree on the whole. Like, I'm okay with guiding somebody through like a guided meditation that I can record for them to listen to. But like, I'm not, through it's like hypnosis or through anything quantum, I'm not telling you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing, but I'm usually seeing, like, I see basically whatever it is, and then like after we talk about it, or like you ask me for this or that, or you ask me like, what does this mean, or what did you see? Your higher self and your soul knows. I don't need to, I'm not telling you anything. I'm the guide that's walking next to you, so you feel safe to be there. That's it. you know
Oh yeah.
I feel like when people have these hypnosis sessions, or I'm a Akashic reader, I'm a certified whatever, whatever, which I'm not knocking that. Like, that's a legit thing. You have to actually have a guide that knows what they're doing. I get it. You can't just start reading for people and you're
Oh yeah.
telling them random shit and it's not even what it is. So I do get that you have to have somebody that you trust or certified, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that person can't go back into and you got to make sure that if it's a past life thing, you're not bringing it, like somebody that does Akashic work like work and they know what to do, you're not bringing it into this lifetime, because like you don't want that either. Like that is
Right.
a past life thing. Okay, great, it's a past life thing, so heal it, let it go, release it, stop bringing it into this lifetime. That's not,
Yes, I love that.
yeah, like that's not the
100%.
purpose. I feel like so many people are like, oh, I found out that I was scared of water, it's because I was drowned in a past life. Okay, so you should now not be scared of water, and if you are, that means you're living in the past, and that's not healthy for you. Like that's not
Right.
the reason why. And I have to remind people, like that's not the reason why we do, the underworld work. It's not the reason why we do Akashic records. It's not the reason why you're going to different dimensions. It's not just to do it. You're doing it to heal and to help you let go and raise your vibration. If not, you're going to literally, like we talked about earlier about energy, you're literally going to be in the same energy. You're still going to have the same fears, the same lessons, the same whatever that you had, because of whatever happened in a past life. That's why you're here, because this is the only place and planet and dimension that you can heal from. Can't do
Yeah,
it.
I
Can't
feel
do it in
like,
the 5D.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like in guiding people there, I mean, I've had quite a few people that they had never heard of it, and so this is all working. This is the soul work, working with their soul. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm feeling like, would you be interested in this? And they're like, what does that mean? And then, but this is always about empowering the person so that if they haven't heard of it, that this will help them. And
Right.
yeah, we talked about going to different dimensions, underworld. I do shamanic stuff too. So I feel like whatever is needed for your soul, that for your soul's growth, is what is going to happen. But I really live for those epiphanies, those moments where you see the light bulb go off in
Yeah.
somebody. And when I recently led somebody to the Akashic records, and she's like, "You mean we could do this over the phone?" She was I just remember going like, "Yeah," because she's like, "I thought I'd have to drive over there to the Zen Den, and I can't get there." And I said, "No, we could." And she's like,
Yeah.
"This is amazing." And then I said, "So you're gonna ask for your records? I'm just standing by. I'm just gonna hang out in the library, and if you need me, I'm over here."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, you know what just came in?" And then I said, "If you want to share, share." And it was like something that she had been wrestling, but it really pissed at somebody. And she's like, "I think I need to soften to them." Like, and it was like almost like she knew. It was like, and I go, "What has that?" And she's like, "I kind of knew it, but I don't know." Going and looking at it was like, this is something that I've been putting off and I've been fighting with and going like, well, maybe I don't want to.
Yeah.
But after she was looking at her record, she was like, I feel like it's time that I could be more loving in this situation. And I was like, and so for me over here hanging out in the library, I'm like, oh, like it's great.
Yeah.
And so I said, if you ever need help in the future, I'm here. But this is yours, so you can go there at any point. And she's like, I cannot believe this is life changing. And it's just really just as a guide, and also coaching, like, hey, you got this, whatever you got to look at, you can do it. Because I've
Yeah.
had sometimes where they're like, I don't know if I want to see what's in there. And I'm like, we can do it, we'll look at it,
Yeah.
we're here together, so I'm just hanging out. Yeah. So I feel like that. And then also, with if there's something that needs to be left in the underworld, or there's something deep, deep we got to look at, uh
Yeah.
that will, for me, usually just I get an inner knowing and a sense, and also I feel as if the fragmented parts of them are almost like, hey, it's time. So yeah, I think that the beauty of what I do is you just don't know. Every day is different, and every soul needs something different. And I'm just so happy to assist. Like, this is the work that I'm doing what I love, because I can't wait to go like, what are we doing today? And sometimes I'll get a download for people or channeling. And then there's other times where I'm like, I just hear, just get on the call and you're going to see what's up.
Yeah.
And so it really does depend on that soul. Sometimes I get like a download 10, 15 minutes before, and it's like, oh, and I write the things down. I'm like, this is what I got. And they're like, and they go, oh, how did you know that, whoever forgot to buy me flowers on my birthday? And I'm like, I kept feeling like flowers, flowers. And I go, well, you know what? How about you buy them for yourself? And they're like, you're right. So if
Yeah.
there's a way where we can look at it. There are serious things that we address too, especially when it comes to finances and people are they're in a situation where they feel like they're not being valued at work or something like that. And I feel like, well, it's interesting because you value yourself, or is this a past life thing? Or, is this an imprint from your family? So to me, it feels like that game Clue or something like that, where it's almost like I'm interested because I'm like, I wonder what the missing piece is right here today for today, or what is it that we're going to look at.
Right.
And with that, it's like, oh yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll hear like, yeah, it's time, they're ready. So how long have you been doing human design? I was curious.
I have been doing human design probably for, like, I self-taught myself, like I do everything. Probably for like 6 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I'm not like a certified reader, I'm never going to be. I don't feel the need that I need to be. Like, I feel like I use human design in a way that helps people with their own energy, like how they can use their own energy. I mean, obviously, I um can look at their chart intuitive. It's all intuitive for me. So like if I listen to like a limiting belief, it's like my eyes go to exactly where there is a block. So like the channels and stuff that connect your body graph, like if you pull your body graph chart, there's usually, it's like a, if it's like you like electricity, so like if you were to turn on a light switch and there's no electricity to that light switch, it's not going to turn on. So same thing with your body. If the chakras and the energy systems are all connected, and it doesn't necessarily have to be connected on your human design chart, but they have to be able to turn on, like to be able to operate. So like me being a projector,
Right.
I don't have sacral energy all the time. So I that is very valuable for me because I know that for one, I can't keep on people's emotions. I need to work through emotional baggage, turmoil, whatever, because if not, it's going to sit in my sacral, which means my hip and my back and are going to hurt. So it's like I know in my body where things are stuck and whatever. Or if I'm working too much and being burnt out. Like I'm not, I always think before I knew human design, I thought I was a generator. So it was very eye opening to notice I physically don't have sacral energy to constantly work a 9 to 5 job. So, which is a lot of times is when projectors are working long hours and working 9 to 5 jobs, that's not forever. Like, cause
Right.
you're not going to be able to, you're going to get sick, like constant things are going to happen. Like it's just you can't operate like that. Like it doesn't matter how much you try to do it, you are going to get sick, or you're physically not going to be able to do anything, until your body is like, I need you to listen to me, you need to not work. I mean, I understand that you have, you know people, I feel like, have to do what they have to do, but you need to go do it differently, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's a great tool to know more about yourself, and it for me when I didn't really know much about it, and then we have a mutual person that we know, and she had said you need to check it out, and then I did, and when I found out I was a generator, it's funny because like when I was a kid, I remember even a teenager, sometimes people would say you're a lot. You got a lot, like you have a lot of energy, or you're a lot. And so it kind of gave me that feeling of going, well, yeah, I have a lot of energy, and it's to be utilized in something that I love, because if I'm not passionate about something, it's really going to do everyone a disservice if I'm not behind it.
Yeah.
So I think that it kind of gave me like, oh, this is how I am. Like this is how I'm made. So
Yeah.
that's what I love about when you learn more things about yourself,
Right.
you go, oh, kind of gives you an explanation. And then you can take that and use it in your life. It's a
Yeah.
great tool. And then when you find out what your partner is and you go, oh, they're um what drives them is guilt. Interesting, because I'm not driven that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Human
Yeah.
design literally, like when people are like, oh, it's literally like astrology. It's like the new age astrology, because especially I do know for me there, I do attract a lot of projectors, but I also attract a lot of generators, because generators, like to be successful, like I always tell people, if you're going to have an entrepreneur business, or you're going to, if you're a generator, to have like a manager per se, or like somebody to help you oversee things, generators need projectors, and then projectors need generator energy because they can harness their sacral. Because if you're, if you're projecting energy to like a projector, they can play off that energy even if they don't have sacral energy to like build something. So like if I ever were to build something, or if I were to hire a VA, I want them to be a generator or a manifesting generator. Not necessarily a manifesting generator, because they have a lot of things. They like to do a lot of things all at one time. But generators like
Right.
to focus on usually one thing at a time, one big thing, I should say. So, and that's just, and I know that just because simply, when I have generators around me, I feel more like, I feel like I'm doing more, because they're reflecting to me what their ideas are, or like what they want to do or whatever. And I can reflect back to them like the overall picture of things. So it's like, you just, in a perfect world, that's how everything will operate. Like the manifestors would be the managers, maybe a reflector would be a manager. The generators will not be managers. They're not supposed to be managers. They're supposed to be building stuff. They're not supposed to be managing people. They're
Right.
supposed to be building it, not managing people. So it's interesting how society is set up to be completely opposite of how things work. And it's because society is not set up to actually work with us, to work, it's supposed to work against us, if that makes sense. And I
True,
know
but I feel
that.
like it's helped my relationship as well because what I was talking about, who it's funny, he's chiming in now. I must have felt my energy. That when I found out like he's driven by guilt, we used to have this conversation where I'm like, why are you doing something that you don't want to do? And then he would be like, well, I would feel guilty if I don't. And I said, well, and the guilt is like a useless emotion. Sometimes that would be something that I wasn't really fully understanding. And so
Yeah,
then when I saw that he was driven by oh my gosh, it really did release
it's a lot.
a lot, because then I had more of an understanding of, okay, I got it, that's why.
Shame, Joey's, and that's why I talk. We'll have to do another.
Yeah,
We'll do
definitely.
another whole podcast on this. But before we wrap up, I was going to say Joey's is shame, but his genetic trauma is also shame. So that is literally what drives him. He will be have no energy, have not want to do a damn thing. But if he feels shame, he's going to do it. It's
Wow.
wild, and shame can be.
What are you driven by? I forget. I don't know if you told me.
I was gonna say, let me look. I don't, off the top of my head. Let's see. I am driven by probably guilt too. No, my motivation is innocence.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's
And then
cool.
the opposite of that is desire. So it's like the transference from the motivation, like in the human design, there's always one or the other, spectrum. It's desire, and I'm always desiring stuff. So I'm always making sure that I balance that out, because innocence can be, it can get me in trouble.
It's funny because mine is
Not,
need, and when I found out that, you know, that mine is need, it was like so right on the money. Because if I all of a sudden I need a vacation, I'm taking
Yeah.
a vacation. You know, like if my soul's like, okay, you need a break and you need to go be near water next week. It's
Yeah.
like it's a need. That need is such, it drives me. I am taking
Yeah.
that vacation.
Motivation in human design is actually it gives you clarity on why you feel guilty all the time. You don't want to get rid of the guilt. I mean,
Right.
if it's keeping you stuck, that's one thing, but you don't want to get
Mhm.
rid of that guilt because that's actually what motivates you to do something. If not, you're not doing anything. You won't do anything because it's not being.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember it's like I can remember as a kid, like, why do you need to do that so bad? Or what, I remember that, like, why do you need to do that? What is, it was like everything in my body was like, I need this. I have to. Like,
Right.
and so it has helped me with that missing piece of when I was a kid, and like, well, what do you need to do this so bad? And I was like, I had to. Like, I remember like when there was a play, and I was very shy outwardly, like in front of people, obviously
Mhm.
not now, but I kept feeling like I needed to try out for this play, and I was in 8th grade, and it used to, all the parts always went to Allison. Wherever you are, Allison, I bet you're having an amazing life. But I felt like I need to challenge myself and see if I can get the main part. It was the queen. And I just remember people were like, why do you need, I need to do this. And I did. And I got the part. And I remember being on stage and putting the crown on. And I thought, this is my opportunity to challenge myself. And it
Yeah.
was it was like a drive that, it was like, if I didn't do it, I don't know how I was going to live. I had to do it. Like I had, and I look back on it and how cool that was, because I did force myself to get comfortable with public speaking and stuff like that, cuz I was very shy when I was little. So, but it was almost like, okay, if you're going to, do the things that you want to do in life, you're going to have to get over this fear of talking in front of people. So I was like, I'm going for this part. It was just organically. But so then when I read the chart, I was like, no
It
wonder.
makes
Yeah, it made
I feel
perfect
like
sense.
it's a
I
lot
love
of
that.
yeah, I feel like there is a lot of aha moments, and we'll have to do another episode on.
Absolutely. This has been a pleasure. I could talk to you all day.
I know, I'm
I
like, well,
really enjoyed
thank
talking to you.
I know. I was gonna say, well, thank you for joining us on today's episode with Deanna. I'll make sure all of her links are in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this, just make sure you go check her out and book a call with her. And then if you're in Maryland locally, make sure you go check her out in person.
Love to have you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and then share this episode with somebody that you feel that will gain knowledge from listening. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining us on another enlightening episode on the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you are a current or inspiring to be fempreneur, suffering from the fear of being seen and or feel very triggered when you're building your business, reach out to me at The Mermaid Light about my Rich and Resilient Biz Baddies. This is a collective text message Voxer support group designed to help you heal your triggers and turn imposter syndrome into bad bitch energy. If you resonate with our conversations and insight, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and leave a review. Your feedback fuels our mission. Remember, your journey to unwavering certainty and purpose is ongoing. So please make sure you stay connected with us on social media. Keep manifesting greatness in your life. Until next time, this is Lauren from the Enlightened Misfits podcast. Stay enlightened, stay inspired, and keep manifesting your extraordinary path.